What is the most unsettling fact about the human body? Story 1. If your brainstem, the part of the brain that mediates most motor control for all of the body, is damaged, you can get locked in syndrome. That means you're fully conscious and aware of your surroundings, but unable to move or speak. The only muscles that remain unaffected in most people are the muscles that move their eyes and the eyelids. You're essentially trapped within your own body, with your only way of communication being blinking or moving your eyes. It can be caused by toxins, blockage of the basilar artery, which is the main artery of the brainstem, or other brainstem damage. Story 2. I don't know about the most disturbing, but how bad human teeth are. We'd think it's our sugary and processed diets these days that cause it. But even Otzi the Iceman, discovered in Italy, was found to have terrible teeth, mouth diseases, and cavities. It's odd that even with the most basic of diets, our teeth are so bad. Story 3. Not sure if this is by design, but I totaled my car once, almost completely uninjured somehow. Then I looked down to my right hand, which I remember jabbing into my dashboard at 55 miles per hour. Luckily, or unluckily, only my pinky took the blow. But instead of a floppy udder full of bone sand, my pinky was a half-inch long. Broke no bones, but instead perfectly stacked my phalanges, or finger bones, into my hand. This is fixed by a muscular Russian nurse grabbing your pinky with both hands and pulling very hard. Gosh, I wish they gave me more lidocaine. Story 4. It's always making disgusting body noises. The only reason you are not aware of it is because the ambient noise kind of drowns it out, because your ears focus on it. If you go to one of those super silent rooms that absorb all sorts of sounds, it's a really weird way to reacquaint yourself with your body. Story 5. I had an impacted wisdom tooth that caused an infection, resulting in a very swollen palate. Went to see a dentist, who sent me over to a surgeon immediately. The surgeon drained it before scheduling me to come in the next day for wisdom tooth removal. He explained that if the infection had spread, there's a high chance of it getting to the brain, and it could have ended very badly for me. Story 6. There are a vast number of ways that your body can malfunction and kill you with little or no warning. An aneurysm can go undetected until it bursts and kills you. Getting hit in the chest just the right way can stop your heart. You can encounter an allergen that never previously provoked an immune response that freaks out your body so badly that you die. You literally just never know if your body will just die. Story 7. The tiniest injury to your brain can change your entire life. Depending on the part of the brain that gets hurt, you can lose your special or general senses, control over your own body, the ability to produce and/or comprehend language, your memories, your personality, etc. Remember to wear a helmet, everyone. Story 8. Your skin is your biggest, most complex, and least understood organ. Your skin is what most everyone considers their identity. Your skin has an amazing amount of specialized areas and functions. Elbow skin is very different from the skin covering your ears. Skin is an external organ. It's an organ that is in contact constantly with the world around you. All of your visible body is skin, except for your eyes and hair and nails. Your skin requires more energy to sustain than any other part of your body. Skin is wild. The actual you is wrapped in a big sweaty blanket we call skin. Story 9. People that have severe epilepsy can get a procedure done to cut the corpus callosum, which connects the two sides of the brain, and allows them to talk to each other. Once this happens, your image identification side can't talk to your word side, and causes issues if you aren't able to look at an item with both eyes. Otherwise, patients act mostly the same. So if you were asked to cover your eye that sends info to your language center, and then shown a ball to look at for your object identifying center, you wouldn't be able to tell what it is out loud. Your brain would still be recognizing it, but wouldn't be able to provide the word for it. Fortunately, it's very rare to get this done these days, as medication has become more effective, so this procedure is a last resort kind of thing. Story 10. Wounds and bone breaks are actively held together by your body, more specifically, the collagen it produces that acts like glue. If you don't eat enough vitamin C and get scurvy, you won't produce enough collagen. Old wounds will reopen, and long-healed bones could break apart again. Collagen also holds your teeth in, so they could loosen and fall out. Eat some fruit, folks. Don't push that parsley to the side of your plate. Story 11. When we defibrillate someone who's in an unsuitable rhythm, we're basically shutting off their heart and hoping it will turn back on by itself in a normal pattern. That's why you don't shock a systole. There's nothing to turn off. Defibrillation is like hitting the reboot switch on the computer. Hopefully, the problem will solve itself when you turn it off, and it'll return to normal function. Story 12. Adolescence. Most mammals hit adulthood in one clean break. Our kids hit a terrifying state of not being able to take care of themselves, but capable of and hormonally hell-bent on reproducing. Like, what kind of messed up series of horrors made that a biological advantage? I think the fact that we have packs or herds helps. I have more doubt this would be this way if humanity wasn't like that. Older generations can help the new idiots keep their even newer idols alive. Not a biologist or anything like that, but that's my theory. Like how orcas that have grandmothers helping raise babies end up with a better survival rate. Story 13. That our immune system has cells specifically engineered to fight every illness physically possible, and other cells have the specific job of searching for them within our body when they are needed. Once they get activated, they are active for the rest of your life. It's why you can only get so many diseases once. After that first time, your immune system can skip the startup phase of curing you and get right to the germ fighting phase. Story 14. It may seem like we know a lot about the human brain, but our standard way of studying brain activity is an fMRI, where a single pixel contains over 3 million neurons. That is more than any vertebrate animal's entire brains. The truth is, we really have no idea how the brain gives rise to consciousness, even if we somehow perfectly worked out all the neural correlates of consciousness. So we could say a mental state happens if and only if some exact pattern of brain activity happens. We could still have the hard problem of consciousness. Why do these physical processes give rise to raw, subjective experience, rather than just happening in the dark? Story 15. The brain will protect itself, even if it means misery to you, or death. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house? Brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. Stuck in the middle of a cold place? You will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Does your brain need more oxygen? You faint in the middle of a busy road. Has your leg been torn off by a bear? Here's adrenaline so you can save your brain, even if there's a huge risk of infection or further injury. Is your brain experiencing too much stress? It will make you drink alcohol or resort to drugs. You and your brain work together most of the time, but when push comes to shove, you are sacrificed. Story 16. That the placebo effect is way stronger than most people think. In Vsauce's video on the subject, a kid suffering from constant seizures stopped having the seizures. I'm pretty sure entirely, and all because they put him in a machine that they said healed him, when in reality, it did nothing. Story 17. We might be an interface where physical particles and biology intersect. Our brains, which are organic, function with changes in charged particles, physics, triggered by biological/biochemical inputs. They also control a flesh body that houses so many cells that function so differently, but somehow are the same organism. And on top of that, and all over, inside, everywhere, there is basically an entire ecosystem of biological beings that live and change and die because of our actions. And each and every one of those things that makes us up could be beneficial or harmful to ourselves and others around us. So it's important to take care of ourselves and others. Story 18. Our brains create false memories way more often than we think. False memories occur pretty easily as well. Going along with that, the more vivid a memory seems, the more likely it is that it's fabricated. On top of that, the more we recall a memory, the more susceptible to change it becomes. And then the modifications that have been made seem more real, because us recalling and then consolidating it further cements it in our memory to be true. A fun fact to go along with all this information is that déjà vu is actually your brain spontaneously fabricating a new false memory, and that is a perfect example that showcases the vividness we experience in our false memories. Story 19. The body's immune system is unaware of your eyes. If the immune system gets wind of them, it will create a severe immune response and destroy your eyes. There is no fix, and you can't interrupt it either, except for total immunoblockers. In other words, you can just wake up one day without functioning eyes, because your body said so. Story 20. Not so much disturbing, but incredibly helpful is adrenaline. I am so very thankful that our bodies produce it when we need it most. Why? On the 16th of March, I had a rather nasty chainsaw accident where I got cut in the throat. Trachea and thyroid were severed from top left to bottom right. Vocal cords also slightly damaged. From the moment of the accident until I was given propofol in the ER, I did not experience any pain and was 100% lucid. Now, 8 weeks later, I have made a full recovery. Gratitude. Story 21. It dies. It stations trillions of cells and auto-repairs them every moment. It survives disasters and can create miracles. And it can revolutionize another trillion cells to partner up with. It produces variants. It creates and controls. It harnesses 1,000,000 gigabytes of data. Its mass is enough to span over the globe, and its will can beat up its own disabilities. Yet it dies. That's why we should never give up the chance for possibilities. To revolutionize another trillion cells, creating miracles, beating up its disabilities, and making even more cells that don't belong to you live better. Having a life is the most disturbing fact about the human body. It can bring up things, tear them down. It exists somehow through an uneasy process, but it can cease itself in that one wrong command from the brain. On the other hand, however, life can also be a blessing. Story 22. To me, it's the fact that there's a hole in the center of the human heart in utero. It's a pass-through for blood because mama is breathing for them. No point in their blood heading for the lungs. Then, when they take that first breath, the offset holes slam together, closing that hole and redirecting blood to the lungs. Story 23. Being ignored or rejected has the same effect on the brain as a physical injury. Repeated rejection over time causes other mental and physical health problems, like depression and PTSD. We never forget the feeling of being rejected or ignored, and when recalling the memory, you feel the emotional pain again. When we try to recall physical pain, our brains don't allow it to happen. You know you had pain at the time, but the memory doesn't cause the pain again. Story 24. A lithopedion, or stone baby, is a rare phenomenon which occurs most commonly when a fetus dies during an abdominal pregnancy, is too large to be reabsorbed by the body, and calcifies on the outside as part of a foreign body reaction, shielding the mother's body from the dead tissue of the fetus and preventing infection. Story 25. If you receive a bone graft, receiving bone stem cells from someone else, it's possible to develop a disease called host versus graft disease. This is as fun as it sounds. It involves the new bone cells, which will become your new immune system, attacking literally every cell in your body. Aside from those in immune-privileged areas, there is no way for your body to stop this, as it is designed to allow your immune system to attack non-self. You basically aren't you anymore. Story 26. So much of our health depends on our social networking. Countless studies have shown that people with a strong support system heal from illnesses and injuries at a significantly higher rate than those who lack a reliable social network. Further, SES and stress level also contribute to the speed/ability to heal. Story 27. The colors we see aren't the true colors of objects in the real world. We can only perceive a limited amount of color that is specific to our eyes. or cone cells more specifically. Other animals, such as dogs, have an even more limited perception color range. In reality, however, just because we perceive an object to be a certain color doesn't mean it exists as that exact color or value in the natural world. Story 28. Mitochondria are thought to have originated from a bacteria, accidentally fusing with a smaller aerobic prokaryote, which resulted in the perfect trade-off, where the bacteria was able to harness energy from oxygen, and the prokaryote now has protection and the benefits of being within a larger organism. Mitochondria have their own DNA, separate from your own DNA, and can operate almost completely independently of the cell. New research is showing there is more to these organelles than we previously thought, and they might hold the key to multicellular life as we know it. In plants, this is a somewhat similar timeline, with plant cells and chloroplasts. Fun fact, the vast majority of steroid hormones, estradiol and testosterone included, begin their synthesis in the mitochondria from cholesterol. Hormone optimization/therapy is all the rage these days. But none of that will truly matter if you have dysfunction or suboptimal mitochondria, which is very easy to have and extremely common in the current world. Story 29. Your fingernails grow 4 times as fast as your toenails. Babies are born with 300 bones. Adults have 206. Eyelashes last about 150 days. The heart circulates blood through your body about 1,000 times each day. You make about half a quart, or 500 milliliters, of spit each day. The smallest bone in your body is your ears. Your blood has the same amount of salt in it as the ocean does. A sneeze blows air out of your nose at 100 miles per hour. Story 30. That everything we will ever perceive is a crudely modeled representation limited by our senses and personal prejudice. You'll never see a true picture of reality, and you'll never know how false your picture of reality is. Even things as simple as a conversation with a friend can be widely misinterpreted. Basically, everything is a hallucination. Story 31. If you go into cardiac arrest, the paramedics will use an automated CPR machine. This machine does compression so well that your brain may get enough blood for you to actually become conscious without a heartbeat. I've seen a few people looking around my ambulance while we worked on them. Story 32. The human body can lift 5 to 10 times past its limits when under a fight or flight response. Basically, your brain is the only thing keeping you from destroying everything you squeeze or grab. But when your heart rate is elevated, your brain releases partial control over the body's muscle strength. So basically, you'd be like Ultra Instinct Shaggy, activating only 1% of your power. However, this decreases or increases, depending on your body mass or muscle strength. Story 33. You have a small tube called a common bile duct that connects your liver and gallbladder to your intestines. Its job is to transport waste from the body so it can be excreted in your feces. In most people, it's only about 4 to 6 millimeters in size. If this gets blocked or broken in any way, you will die without medical attention. Pretty crazy to think we have organs we don't need, but if this tiny tube fails, you're dead. Story 34. Collagen makes up around 80% of your body. When your collagen is faulty, it can make so many things go wrong, on the inside and out. It can make you not be able to walk. It can stop your stomach and bladder from working. It can make you pass out, not heal. It's something you don't even think about, but if it goes wrong, it messes up so much of you. Story 35. Your body usually uses about 30% muscle power. Your body only uses its true power in life or death situations. If you did use your full strength power, your muscles would tear. You would break a lot of blood vessels and quite possibly die. Story 36. Your brains manipulate you, so the world remains to make sense. Most funny one, I believe, is that the brain does not like it when you miss time. However, it just alters your memory and perception of time for a little while. For example, if you look at another place, there will be a short time frame where the eyes have to adjust, and the brain has to process what it sees to adjust this further. If you look at an analog clock, you can see this process. Because the first second pointer remains longer than a second, the brain stops your perception of time, adjusts your sight, and then just fills in the image in your memories with assumptions. And thus, the image of the place where the second pointer is at that moment. Meaning, you see the second pointer stationary for longer than a second, while actually it was at another place when you started looking. Furthermore, phenomenons the brain can't grasp are deleted from your processing. Happened with tribal people and ships and planes. Too much pain causes blackouts. People who can think fast perceive time as slower. Every part of the brain is genetically designed so you can reproduce. However, currently we are conditioned to think differently, leading to behavioral inconsistencies. Every signal is processed multiple times to give meaning and make predictions out of these signals. Story 37. One of my favorite examples of evolutionary constraints is found in your neck. The recurrent laryngeal nerve connects the brain and the larynx. The nerve's route was relatively direct in our fish-like ancestors, but in vertebrates, the nerve loops down from the head, around the aorta, and back up to the larynx. That includes giraffes too. Nobody knows why evolution chose this path. Story 38. There's something called a bezoar, which people with trichophagia, people who eat their hair, get. Basically, it's a hairball in their stomach and intestines. That's not so bad or that disturbing. I've seen one of those in real life from a patient when I was working at a hospital lab. It was the size of 2 baseballs put next to each other. Story 39. For some reason, it appears that our brains are totally backwards. The sight processing center is in the back while your eyes are in the front. The left side controls the right side of your body and vice versa. Rotate that squishy sponge boy about 180 degrees, and it wouldn't have to cross signals all over the place. Story 40. I don't know. Knowing that I'm a living organism, being kept alive by billions of smaller living organisms, freaks me out. Muscles, organs, cells, all just decided to work together to keep the big machine that is me up and running. Makes me feel less important.